Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
Proceed to your post assignment. All units proceed to your post assignment.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience need to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
Woo! It's that time again. The boys are here. The boys are back. It's Tuesday, y'all. It's Tuesday. A little Thor in your hair. Do you want to share the story of a loved one lost to combat or after service? Reach out. We are now booking for Memorial Week shows. Go to any of our emails or any of our social medias and tell us you want to be on the show. We will get you there. Woo! The skies are clear. The air is getting warmer. Spring is definitely here now. I can hear the birds singing as we get ready for the quiet storm that is Cagney, that is Lacey. Tonight is a big one, as this is the last time that either of them can say they are 55. We challenge you, yes, you, right there looking at your screen, listening in your AirPods. Get out of your comfort zone. Try new things. Be the best version of you. And oh yeah, get in the chat and yell happy birthday to Steven, a.k.a. Cagney. Get on your funderwear. Pull on your favorite headgear. Reach up and pull down those shoulder straps and get ready for an epic ride. Boys, take it away.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing, Stephen?
I'm good. How about
Are you? I'm well.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to. Are you enjoying your last night as a 55-year-old?
I guess, yeah. I'm sitting here with you. What could be better?
Well, I'm spending my last week as a 56-year-old, so
I made a nice chicken parm for dinner, and now I'm here with you.
That's nice. It's nice. I
It's
could do some
the
chicken
celebration
parm.
that keeps giving.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's been an amazing week. Got back from Puerto Rico last Thursday. If you have not been to that country, you need to go. It is beautiful. The people are great. The food is amazing. I'm already looking up recipes on how to make mofongo, because I'm thinking that's probably going to become a staple around our house.
Is that the mix in the bowl?
Yeah, that's it's cooked mashed plantains.
Oh, yeah. Plantains are good. I like that.
Oh, I tell you what, I had them 3 different ways down there, and I love them every way. I love them every way. You doing anything special? You doing
working all day.
You're gonna work all day. You're gonna work all day. Good deal.
It's Wednesday to me.
I understand. Hey, everybody that's out there listening tonight, don't forget to like and share and subscribe. And remember, if you're a veteran out there, you're feeling the darkness, 988 pop option 1, and somebody will talk to you. If they don't talk to you or you don't get the answer you want, email one of us. We'll send you a phone number. You can talk to us. We'll listen. We will listen, because
Yes,
we want you here tomorrow. Before we kick off tonight, Stephen, I got one thing I have to do.
Yes, sir.
24 years ago today, it was Easter Sunday. I lost my brother. And I just want to tell Jeb Holland that I love him. I miss him every day. Okay, enough with the sad stuff. Hey, we got a great guest this evening. His name is Ian Chamandy, and he, over the last 20 years, has helped more than 400 organizations define their purpose and become consistently, uniquely remarkable through a proprietary blueprint process where he blueprints his business, and he will define the organization's purpose in 7 words or less. And he uses it to design how they operate and how they communicate. And we're going to get him on here, and he's going to tell us how he does that. And
right on.
If you've got a business that you're working on and you want to kind of redefine yourself and work on how you can communicate with your customer, maybe this is it. So without any further ado, let's bring him in here. Welcome, Ian.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Hey, we're more than happy to have you. Thank you for coming on. Didn't tell much about you. We told what you've been doing for the last 20 years. So if you want to kind of fill in the blanks, you can start from wherever you want to start and how we got here, where we are today.
Sure. Well, just personally, I'll say I celebrated my 55th and 56th birthday a while ago.
So what, last week?
Yeah, it's sort of in my rear view mirror. I'm a father. I've got a 28-year-old boy who's a journalist covering politics, and I started this business with a partner about 20 years ago. We didn't have a clear idea of what we were doing, but what happened over the years is that we started developing. When we'd work with clients, there were things that we started to repeat. It just seemed it was relevant to every client. And, these things just sort of started to build and build. And what happened after a while, maybe 5 or 7 years, is that they coalesced into a methodology. And it's a simple 3-part methodology. And it's predicated on this really simple idea that as a business, the single most important strategic asset that you can have as a business is knowing that one thing that makes you uniquely remarkable at the end of the day. All the things that you do as a business and all the things that you say as a business, those are all reflections of what it is that makes you uniquely remarkable as a company. And when you can't articulate what that is, all those reflections are really fuzzy. But when you can articulate in 7 words or less that one thing as a company that makes you uniquely remarkable, then you have a strategic asset that guides every single thing you do and every single thing you say in your company, every decision you make and every action you take. It all flows from your superpower as an organization. And the thing is, I a lot of times when I say this, I get a lot of skepticism because people say, well, big companies, how can there be one thing? Well, think about IBM. What did IBM do in the 40s and 50s, when America was really booming? It provided the most advanced business technology to the biggest businesses in the world, right? 80 years later, what are they doing? They're providing the most sophisticated business technology to the biggest companies in the world. And they have had generations of CEOs and senior leadership teams. But there's something in the DNA of the organization that, while it can juke and jive, it's doing so within relatively narrow parameters. The most advanced business technology to the biggest businesses in the world. And so my quest is, as a business, is to help companies figure out what that is, right? And it's not a value proposition. A value proposition is very different. And, you have value propositions on products and services, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing is, a value proposition should change. It should change because products change over time, customers change, markets change, the company changes. The value proposition has to stay current with the time. But the one thing that makes you uniquely remarkable, my IBM story is evidence of, that one thing doesn't change. And it doesn't change over decades of time. And so I think the single most important thing a business can do to be successful is to define that one thing that makes it uniquely remarkable. And then when you know that, as a senior executive team, when you discover that, it's like the veil lifts and the fog clears. You feel like, oh, finally, I figured this out. And now all I have to do is go out and just make that happen. And so, that's my simple 3-step process, is that you define that one thing that makes you uniquely remarkable in 7 words or less. and then you use it to design the story of the purpose. And then you use it to design the operations of the company. And, when you're designing how the company's going to run, that sort of gives you your day-to-day marching orders. And when you design how the company's going to communicate, that guides all of the branding and marketing and sales and all that kind of stuff. So, in short, define what makes you uniquely remarkable. That's your purpose, to be the best you possibly can as a company, and have it design or have it guide how you operate and how you communicate.
Okay.
Right. So that's how I got to where I am on the corporate side. And then,
Okay. Now let's.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
For our listeners, let's just kind of let's Sesame Street this down a little bit.
Okay.
So, me and Steven have a company, and we make widgets, whatever. And widgets is all we do, and we think that we make the best widgets out there. So we would design our 7-word purpose
or less,
up to 7 words or less. We make the best widgets, or our widgets are unbeatable or whatever, and then we build off of that for our purpose, and then how we're going to communicate that to our customer,
right,
or potential customers. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Except, generally that's correct. But
okay.
Specifically, we wouldn't have a conversation. Well, we would have a conversation about what makes your widget so great, but not because what makes your widget so great is your purpose. We have to work backwards from your great widgets backwards to what
your core values are.
Sorry?
Right? What your core values are.
All of that. Like, where did that come from? And maybe if I tell you something that I believe that this will make a little bit more sense. I believe every business was started for the same reason, exactly the same reason. And that is because a person or a group of people said, I know how to do this better. Right? So they've been working wherever they are, or maybe they just come out of school and they're just arrogant enough to think that they know better than the world. But for whatever reason, they say, I know how to do this better. So they've accumulated all this experience and, whatever their career has been up to that date. And they figured out how to do things and how not to do things. And they developed their own philosophy about how to do it. And then they start a business based on that philosophy. And what I'm trying to do is capture the magic in that philosophy. What was it in there that was so brilliant, that was so uniquely remarkable about you in developing that unique approach to the business?
Okay.
And then so let's say you do it with a couple of other people. You all have a good notional idea of what you want the business to be. But when you figure this out, you know exactly what the business is and what its full value is and what to do to take it forward. Like I said, it's like the veil lifts and the fog clears.
All right. We got a couple questions here already. Go ahead, Stephen.
At Smooth This Slow, how can we explain this to those who join us as we ascend the mountain? Thank you, Smooth This Slow.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
How can we explain this to those who join us as we ascend the mountain?
So, like, we've already done this, and then we've got new people coming on board. How do we explain this process to them?
Okay. So I think what I need to do is start off with a case study because, we've been talking concepts. When you hear the case study, I can answer that question with here's specifically how it does that. Right.
Okay.
So we had breakfast with the CEO one day, and he's the CEO of a retail shelving company. Right. So Home Depot builds a box. They go in and they put up all the rack shelving, and when they're done, the store opens. And as we're sitting with this guy, he said, I know there's a magic to my business, But every time I open my mouth to talk about it, it sounds so generic, so banal, so like anything anybody else could say. And I said to him, John, it's because you don't know what business you're really in. And I wouldn't say that today. I was a little younger back then. But to his credit, he said, you're right. I don't know what business I'm really in. Now, he knew he was in the category of retail shelving, but he didn't know inside that sandbox what area he owned. And so he decided to do a blueprint, right? That's my process, blueprint. And so what we do is we get them to talk. We get them to describe what they want the business to be, what they think the business is, and they struggle for words. And but where the conversation got interesting was when they started talking about how they had been in business for 3 generations, right? Not 3 decades, but 3 generations. And because of that longevity, they had developed techniques and processes and systems and procedures that allowed them to get finished significantly faster than their competitors. So you imagine if they get a Home Depot done a month faster than their competitors, that means the store opens a month sooner. And that's a month of retail sales that Home Depot did not anticipate. And so as we're having this conversation about getting finished faster, one of his VPs says, just as a joke, he was just joking. He said, on our signs where it says opening soon, I want ours to say opening sooner.
Hey.
And I said, oh my God, that is brilliant. That is brilliant. So the thing is, we now have, by the way, in 2 words, and usually they are just 2 or 3 or 4 words, in our 7 words or less guideline. But now we had the articulation of what made that company uniquely remarkable. And that is this idea of opening sooner. And everything in the business, now you can see that opening sooner is the thing that makes your business magical. You can start building on that intentionally rather than just saying, oh, let's try this and let's try that and let's try the other thing. Right? So now that's how it sort of captures and articulates the purpose of his business, what makes him uniquely remarkable so he can be the best version of that business. Okay. But here's how it works on the other side, right? Let's say you're the VP of construction at Home Depot. Well, there's 2 things you care about at the end of the day: staying on time, staying on budget. Those 2 things cause you a lot of gray hair. And when somebody walks into your office and they open their story with these 2 words, opening sooner, the VP of construction already knows what that means.
I got to speed up.
You are feeding 2 words into that person's brain where they say, oh my God, you're saying that you're not only going to meet my deadline, but you're going to beat it by so much that we start generating revenue sooner than anticipated, and that makes me a hero? Tell me more, right? The VP of construction knows that, knows what it means, and then just wants to hear the detail. How do you do that? How do you do that? Oh, yeah, I want to hear this story.
I used to have a lot of problems with people at Home Depot because I opened a few of their stores. And during construction, we'd be on the phone saying, where the hell are you? And why is this being built like this? And this doesn't work here. Why are you making it look like this? And we would make them change things, and it was crazy.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a crazy process, but they figured out, how to tame it to the point where they were consistently significantly faster than their competitors.
They once they got going, yes, they did very well. Like I said, I opened probably 3 or 4 stores in them like 20, 30 years ago.
Well, here's how it works and how easy it is to A, communicate the story, but also B, how easy it is to have the story land exactly the way you want it. So on his LinkedIn profile, he had you can briefly describe, he had the opening sooner story. And a mid-level construction manager at Best Buy emailed him and said, "I'm intrigued by this, by this opening sooner thing. Can you come out here and talk to us?" I think they're out in Vancouver. So John hops on a plane, and he's expecting to go through that process. You meet at the mid-level, they vet you, and then they bring you to their boss, and that's meeting number 2. And you slowly work your way up to the ladder till you get to real decision makers. That was what John's expectation was. But he gets ushered into the executive boardroom, and he's presenting to the CEO and the entire leadership team. And so he spends an hour in there telling the opening sooner story, questions and answers, blah, blah, blah. And then he hears those awful words, "We'll get back to you." Right? And you know what that means. It means either you'll never hear from us again, or
Exactly.
you'll hear from us in 6 to 12 months when we get our act together. So he's taking the red eye back that night, and he's at the airport at like 9 o'clock. And he gets a call on his phone, and it's Best Buy. They had just met 4 or 5 hours earlier, and it's Best Buy, and they said, "Okay, we've got an $800,000 project for you, and it's a trial project, and if you do well, there's more." And that all came from 2 words in a LinkedIn profile. Yeah.
All right.
It's the power of getting the right articulation, and the right articulation has to do 2 things. It has to be so logical that it's self-evident, right? Opening sooner. And it has to resonate on a deep emotional level. For the employees of the company, it's bragging rights. They love it. They love opening sooner on their hats. And for the VPs of construction, does that resonate on a deep emotional level when, meeting that deadline causes you so much gray hair? Sure, it does. And
you might get a bonus out of the deal.
That's one of the ways you work towards it. By creating a month of unexpected revenue. I think that's like, $10 million.
Yeah, easy.
Per store, right?
Easy. We got another question here from Ben Hur Was Real. How did you come up with the idea of expressing purpose in 7 words or less? How did you come to that idea? Thank you for that question, Ben Hur Was Real.
I'd like to say that there was some brilliant thinking behind it. I think what happened was we just noticed, and this was something, we're just doing a whole bunch of projects for corporations. And it just so happened that in every single project, there seemed to be helpful to try and figure out what the root of the company was first. So then that actually became what our business is. Oh gosh, I forgot the question that I'm answering. Oh, why 7 words or less? But when we started noticing this trend of we're building what we're doing for clients off of a short phrase, we just said, what's the longest one so far? And it was 7 words. And then we said, okay, 7 words or less. And it kind of made sense because, phone numbers used to be 7 numbers because that's kind of the max that you can easily remember. So yeah, we just invoked the rule 7 words or less, and then started to freak out because we actually had to live up to it. But it's surprisingly easy because, like I said, most are 2 or 3 or 4 words.
Okay. All right. Another question.
I would think if you go past 7, people get disinterested. So give me 7 and I'm focusing. So.
Well, and because it's not even 7, it's what I call the 3 easies. When you hear a short phrase like that, it's easy to understand, right? Then it's easy to remember, and then it's easy to tell the story, right? Like you guys could go out now and passionately tell the story of opening sooner. You don't need any more information from me. You can make it up because it's probably all going to be right.
Okay.
That's true. Yeah.
Right?
That's amazing. Yeah. All right, next question.
Hey, Stephen, when are you going to hang up that sign? Is we get you out quicker?
Actually, I think they're hanging the signs that say that right now.
Awesome. Good deal.
All right, we got another question from Tech at Texas Toasted 98. What's one of the most powerful personal transformations you've seen from someone applying your blueprinting process?
Okay,
Thank
so
you, Texas Toasted.
this is a great question because I've been talking up to now about a product that I provide to companies, but the person asking the question, it was about a personal transformation. So now what it allows me to do is segue into my other business, which is when COVID hit, right? A lot of us started rethinking what we were doing. And so I needed, I knew that Blueprint was going to be hard to sell through COVID. So I got my coaching certification to become a business coach. And everybody I talked to said the same thing. The pandemic has got me thinking about my life. I don't like what I'm doing. I want to live a life of meaning and purpose. And I said, that's awesome. What's your purpose? And they'd say, I don't know. And it made me realize I could take this thing that I had designed for corporations and I could adapt it to individuals so that you can define what makes you uniquely remarkable and have it be like the strategic guide for your life to know, what it is that makes you. And then I had lunch with a guy who was a 5-time client. Every time he got a new CEO gig, he hired us to do a blueprint. And I told him about this, and he said, I have an online teaching infrastructure that I can plunk on top of your personal blueprint. And rather than you doing that one-on-one with clients, you can do it one to millions because you offer it as a course. And so that's what we did. We started that business. And we are in sort of the beta launch, the soft launch version of that business. But, I have come to know, because my business partner founded an organization called True Patriot Love. And it supports ill and injured military and their families. So through that relationship, I have come to know something, I will say, of the plight of people who serve, and especially after they finish serving and they leave the military and they're making that transition into civilian life. I have heard so many stories about how, difficult and even traumatic that transition is. And it breaks my heart to hear that. And, one of the stories that I have heard many times is about how veterans get a job in civilian life and feel inadequate, which just blows my mind, right? Because if I'm doing hiring, and all things being equal, because I'm a merit guy, and all things being equal, except one's a military veteran and one's not. I'm going to take the military veteran 10 times out of 10. If you've had bullets whizzing by your head and you're still here, and ready to work, I'm hiring you. So that's one of the areas that we are going after, is that we want to do deals with military organizations so that they can use this purpose tool to give them a foundation. What's my superpower? What is it that makes me uniquely remarkable? And the thing is, once you discover that for yourself personally, no matter what your self-perception is, it improves, right? Because I'm convinced that 8 billion people in the world, well over half of them are walking around thinking there's nothing remarkable about them, and therefore they can't achieve anything remarkable and they don't deserve anything remarkable. And until you show me 2 people in this world who are exactly the same, then everybody's uniquely remarkable. Everybody has something that makes them uniquely remarkable.
Yes.
And discovering that, at minimum, that is going to raise your confidence in yourself. And it's something nobody can, once you know, nobody can ever take that away from you.
No, because it's something that's uniquely yours.
Yes.
Whatever it is that you can do, if you're the only person that can do it, it's uniquely yours.
Exactly. And I love the idea that, people, the word is a cliche, I know, empowered, but find me a better word, whatever. But that's to think that, that someone could be going through their life like this, and then they find out that they've got something that makes them uniquely remarkable. And, they're just like walking a little bit higher. Then that's very rewarding for me.
Yeah. And it's almost, once you get that person, I don't know if a light bulb comes on over their head or what happened. It's a pretty neat moment. I know I trained soldiers, and there was some stuff that we used to train that was pretty technical, and guys would be trying to get it and trying to get it and trying to get it, and you just got to be patient with them. And then something happens and you start to see light bulbs click on over people's heads, and they're like, and yeah, knowing how to use that piece of equipment or whatever, actually, even a low ranking guy, it gives them some purpose. They now have what you call their superpower.
Yeah, sure. But imagine, if that's the feeling that you get from an achievement like that, from trying over and over again and finally getting it. I mean, that task, not to minimize it by any means, but that's one of a million tasks that you're going to do over the course of your lifetime.
Oh yeah.
What if it was so absolutely central to your being that you had the light bulb go on like that?
Oh yeah.
And you, for the first time, know who you are.
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, we got a question right along those lines right there. I'm getting ready to pop up from Sheet Metal and So On. How can someone get started if they feel totally lost when it comes to purpose? Thank you for that question, Sheet Metal and So On.
Okay, so my answer is, I'm going to warn you, my answer is self-serving, right? Because I don't know any other way to do it. Is my course. And so my company is called PurposeU, like Purpose University. And what I've done is I've designed a 16-step process. I take you step by step through it. You watch a video, you do an exercise, watch a video, do an exercise. And we work you through a process of getting under the surface and discovering things about you that you didn't know existed. So for instance, in the first set of exercises, it's almost like you're not doing math, but it's almost doing like math where, you got numbers and then you've got a result at the bottom, right? So the result of phase 1 of this course is to uncover your beliefs, wants, and talents. Okay. And those are sort of the core of who you are. They are the components of purpose. They're the components of what makes you uniquely remarkable. And everybody has a unique combination, right? All sorts of combinations and permutations. And we have a dedicated purpose AI assistant built into the course. And it does 2 things. It's really cool. It helps you find the words when you can't find them yourself. So it's okay to sort of, if you've got to describe something and you look at it and you say, it doesn't really capture. Well, you can use AI to help you refine your, what you're writing down. But what the really cool thing is when you say, okay, here's a whole bunch of raw material about me. Read between the lines and tell me what you see. And that's how it's actually the AI that pulls out your beliefs, wants, and talents.
Okay.
And so that's it. And then you use those as the raw material for then figuring out what your purpose statement is. in 7 words or less.
Okay.
But even just the beliefs, wants, and talents are pretty cool to fit, to learn.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Definitely.
So it is. So, the answer to the question is taking this course. I think you can see it on my screen. The website is PurposeU.ai. In our soft launch phase, we have it on for 50% off. And I would encourage, if you are having a challenge making that transition into civilian life, I would encourage you to go and have a look and just see if you think it might be helpful for you to figure out what your superpower is and have that guide you going forward.
All right. Stephen, got a question for us that just popped up from Polk High School Forever. Cagney and Lacey, as we speak of purpose tonight, please, the two of you define what your purpose is. I'll let you start that one, Stephen.
I don't know what my purpose is.
Yeah.
I
Nobody knows what their purpose is unless they go through, because it's not easy to figure out, which is why, I really had to think about what's the path I'm going to take you down in order to figure this out. It's not easy.
I can go Joe Pesci and say, what am I, a clown? Am I here to entertain you?
I like to think my purpose is, helping people survive. That's part of the teaching that I do. And, I've got, some veterans that call me, and I would like to think that a couple of them are here today because they reached out and talked. And if I can make somebody smile or laugh hard enough that they pee a little bit, my purpose has been fulfilled. I want everybody to be happy. That's just the way I am.
Okay, so Jake, this is interesting because what you described was about joy, but the words you used were about survival.
Yes. Well, hey,
the words, so we just need to work on the words, right? Because there's no joy in those words, but there was joy in your description.
And I get joy from doing it. I mean, I can truthfully say that I love my job. So
here's the thing about a purpose statement. A purpose statement is never about, whether it's a corporate or it's a personal one. It's never about I or me, because a purpose statement is a big tent, right? So when you think about opening sooner, the opening sooner story, they don't own that.
No,
that's a purpose that they're committed to. But there's other people in that big tent of opening sooner. First of all, there's all their clients, right? They're all in there. But also there's all the other vendors who are contributing to it. And then there's their suppliers.
Yes.
They've all got to feel like they're all in this opening sooner tent. And that's how they get everybody to work together, because the intention, the purpose is so clear. Right.
Okay.
You have to make them feel like they're part of the family.
Exactly.
That's what it all comes down to at the end of the day.
So it's never a statement about I or me or we or us, right? And then the other thing is, I'll tell you what my purpose statement is, and it's transforming confusion into clarity. And it's just what I get a buzz off of, helping people figure stuff out. And it's not like, it's never a process of, okay, tell me what your problems are, guys, and then the big brain's going to go away and come back and answer all your questions. That's not it at all. If I was working with you guys, I would start out by saying, look, you've already got the answers, and I'm just here to help you pull them out and then articulate them in a way that is, logical to the point of being self-evident, and that resonates on a deep emotional level.
Okay. And we're getting more questions. People burning us up tonight.
Cool.
Oh, sorry.
Are you shaking when you're hitting the button, bud?
No, somebody else hit it with me.
Key to skeleton. What's the biggest difference between how organizations versus individuals approach finding purpose? At key to skeleton.
Yeah. So think of them first of all as very similar. The two, the corporate methodology and the personal methodology. But the corporate methodology is bigger. There's more elements to it. And one of the elements in there is, what is your methodology? Right? And every company has a methodology. Remember back to my original story, right? Or how every company's formed. I know how to do this better. Whatever the articulation of that better is, that's their methodology. My methodology at Blueprint is 3 things. Find your 7 words or less, have it guide how you operate, have it guide how you communicate, right? That's my methodology. So simple. Now, it doesn't matter how big and complex the business is or how small it is. They all have a methodology and they're all difficult to figure out. But in your purpose statement, you are making a claim, right? So when they say opening sooner, they're making a claim about their competence. There needs to be something of substance underneath that supports that claim, or it's just another company blowing hot air. Okay. And if it is another company blowing hot air, then the client's going to find that out soon enough and they won't last long. So you have to have something of substance that supports the claim in the purpose statement. And so when we do the purpose story, there is 5 questions in the purpose story. And one of them is, what is your methodology? And it's the most difficult question to ask, because it's like, what's your fundamental approach to how you do business? Think of General Motors. Not General Motors, think of General Electric, right? How many different businesses are under General Electric? Each of those businesses has a methodology, but General Electric has followed some methodology for choosing its family of companies.
Yes.
Right? It has a philosophy about how it chooses those companies, so that there is some relationship between them.
Like somebody that lines up with their basic company core values, or
right,
whatever.
Believe in the same core values, and
yeah. And there's probably product connections and just business intelligence that can be generalized and that sort of thing. But even still, right? Even still, a company that has a million different subsidiaries, it has a single methodology for how it ended up with a million different subsidiaries. And that's what you got to figure out. And then once you do, you're operating from a position of awareness. So that gives you an example. The methodology is the big difference between the two.
All right. Got another one here from Denise Menace 5. Do you believe anyone can live a purpose-driven life even in the middle of chaos or burnout?
Oh, that's when it's most valuable.
Thank you for that question.
It's a great question. That's when it's most valuable, right? Because when do people go looking for purpose? Well, there's a group of people who are just seekers, right? They're always into wellness and self-improvement and that sort of thing. I would include myself in that, by the way. But there are other people who it's only when some kind of trigger event happens in their life. And a trigger event, I'll give you 2 that, opposite ends of the age spectrum. Graduation is a trigger event from university. Retirement is a trigger event. They're both significant life changes. Now, there's a sort of a progression to a trigger event. A trigger event happens. It creates uncertainty about your future, lots of unanswered questions. And that uncertainty, which way am I going here? That uncertainty causes anxiety, or in the extreme, fear, right? So you can imagine if you decide to change careers, to change jobs. Even though it's your choice, it still causes uncertainty about the future, unanswered questions, and that causes anxiety. And but if you think about getting fired from a job, you can see how that causes even more anxiety and even fear, because if you just have too many unanswered questions about the future. And it's those unanswered questions that cause those awful emotions. And then when you're in that awful emotional state, it makes it really difficult for you to make the right decisions about your future, or even just how to get out of wherever you are. Now, when you know what makes you uniquely remarkable as an individual, and you use that as like a strategic guide for your decision making. So you say, okay, here's my situation. What does my purpose tell me about how to handle this situation, about these decisions? And it will guide you there, right? So instead of saying, what do I do? You say, what options about my future or my answers to these questions is aligned with my purpose? And as long as something is aligned with your purpose, then you know that you're going in the right direction. Okay. And I just want to remind you that the reason why aligning the answers with your purpose gives you the comfort of knowing that it's the right way to go is because your purpose is comprised of your beliefs, wants, and talents. So when you say this, what I'm going to do is aligned with my purpose, what you're really saying is what the decision I've just made is aligned with my beliefs, wants, and talents. So you're aligning with yourself at the deepest level.
Okay. All right. And we got time for one more. We got one popped up here. Live, don't run. You mentioned the veterans earlier. Many find the darkness due to losing that sense of purpose. How do we get them to see they still have purpose out of uniform? That's a great question. Thank you, Live, don't run.
It is a great question. And the thing is that, when you're in the military, sure, you have a sense of service. First of all, you're serving your country, right? And then I'm sure that there are other elements to it, and I've never served, so I can't speak to that, but I'm sure there are. But that's not actually your purpose. Everything that you do and say is an extension of your purpose. I heard this great metaphor, and it was, your purpose is like the stone from which all the shadows of your life are cast. And if you choose to go into the military, that's a shadow cast from your purpose. Now, you may have military purpose while you're there, but that's not your purpose as a person. That's an extension of your purpose. You chose to go into the military because that's where your purpose took you. You don't know it took you there because you don't know what it is. But as soon as you articulate the stone in 7 words or less, you'll say, that's why I ended up serving. And I can take exactly the strength that directed me into service in the military to go into employment in civilian life. And I was talking to a guy who served, and he said, yeah, but you know what? A lot of people are not, they don't have that difficult a transition, but when they start working, it just seems so boring to them. And I said, yeah, because you chose a marketing, you've come back from trying to keep yourself alive every day to writing marketing copy. Like those two things just don't jive. If you know your purpose coming out of the military, you know not to take a job writing marketing copy, right? You need to find something that fits to your purpose, because again, that means it fits to your beliefs, wants, and value and talents, and then you'll be fulfilled.
Yeah, but beliefs, wants, and talents. You have people that graduate college with degrees that think they should get a job and get the highest pay because they have a degree. No, they need to learn what the actual job is. You
Mhm.
can't just say, this is what I'm doing and this is what I want. No, you have to start here and you have to work your way up that ladder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And people need to realize that also. Even with the transition from military. I did this in the military. Jake disarmed bombs. He's not going to, come to New Jersey and work at a company and say, okay, this is what I did. This is what we're going to do now. No, you have to start where you're starting and work your way up. And you have to get comfortable with what you're doing also. You can't just say, this is my wants, this is my needs. You have to be in there. You have to be comfortable with what you're doing.
Yes.
Just, going back to the metaphor of the stone, and everything that you do and say are shadows cast from the stone. It's just, who was it said, an unexamined life is not worth living. Well, that's the ultimate examination, when you know that one thing that, as a human being, that makes you uniquely remarkable. That's about as deep as it goes.
Well, and once we figure that out, I think that we'd probably have a lot more happy people in the world, because I know a lot of people out there that dread getting up every morning and going to work.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's because they're just working to pay the bills or whatever.
And that's that burnout. You have a job you like doing, and sometimes it's the company that's killing you.
Well, that too.
But you need to make the money, so you show up every day.
Yeah, you do. But when you're in that situation, you're constantly asking yourself the same question, which is, what do I do? What do I do to be happy? What do I do to get a decent job? What do I do to, what do I do? What do I do? And so you're constantly asking questions about the future that you don't have answers to. And what I'm saying is, if you've got your purpose sitting on your shoulder there and you say, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're not alone. You've got your superpower there to help you as a guide in answering those questions.
All right. Ian, something we do with all of our guests. Well, first of all, folks, the website is PurposeU.ai. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Now, something that we do with every guest that comes on the show, we need 3 non-negotiables every day that Ian has to do to make his day complete.
Oh. Well, no question, coffee.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. The worst days of the year for me are when I have to do a fasting blood test first thing in the morning. And I am at the lab at 7 a.m. so that by 7:30, I have coffee going into my system.
All right.
So that's one thing. Music, preferably playing music.
Okay.
Is another thing. So I play guitar. And I've gotten into composing, actually, which is sort of an interesting learning experience. And the other thing is I just have a passion for, current events and world politics. So, my brain is burning up at the current time. I wish I could just shut that one off for a little bit. So just just cool down.
I understand. Well, we're going to have to shut things down here.
This is a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
Hey, you were very welcome. Had a lot of good questions tonight. Thank you, Misfit Nation, for
very interesting topics. It was very good.
Asking all those questions. And again, the website is PurposeU.ai. Ian, we thank you for coming on here. We wish you the best.
Pleasure.
Misfit Nation, we love you. And hey, got a little surprise for you. You're going to see us two again on Thursday.
Yes. Thursday, maybe we'll switch spots.
Yeah, maybe we'll switch spots.
Yeah.
So we'll see you Thursday, Misfit Nation. We love you, and we'll see
Good
you.
night, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.